please. Ntambama balimi. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to invite to the podium our Honorable Deputy Minister Z Capa. Umama wethu balimi. Umama wethu through and through. She comes through for us every time. I'm not surprised you are here. And to you, DG, for the day. Thank you for accompanying her and gracing us with your presence today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Program Director. Can you please allow me to acknowledge the leadership, executive, very important delegates representing their organizations, the department represented by Utatu Mokulu on behalf of our ministry, that our DG is not very well. So we are here as a team. We bring all the greetings, Madam Chair, and all your executive. We bring indeed greetings from the department. And please allow me not to dwell in many issues that were raised. Otherwise, I might miss the point. Yes, please, everyone must not feel I was inconvenienced, because I had agreed while in China to say, I would like to listen to you. Yes, but I was requested to come and speak. But I said as well, I would like a situation where all of you raise what they think is necessary for building this organization. So I am happy, even if I speak for fewer minutes, because the very people who were supposed to be talking to each other, it's you as members. And this is a difficult situation, having to be in alliance. Yes, because in such partnerships that are more of an alliance, even if you were in a bed, and that is not necessarily made a law, but rather a value and a norm, you should tell the other partner, so if you will just behave as if it's all about you, there's going to be a problem. This one I'm using is a more harsher one, but I think it is normal that wherever you are, even if you are not now, please go home and ensure that we say, no, so don't just, yes, please, continue allowing everyone to trace you, and so that you do the right things at the right time. Mine is to say, you are meeting at a very great moment. Is there any problem with my... It's because you are meeting when we have a great moment as South Africans. There are many issues that were raised. Some are painful and some make people to be angry. But I was also advised sometime years back that if I was chasing a baboon, and then this little thing, the rabbit, appears, I must make no mistake with my dogs. continue with the baboon chasing and not be detracted by umvundla. I use the size of umvundla because something that might detract you and make you spend a lot of energy might be very useless even if you catch it. So I think I needed to say that because this is a beginning. Actually, the light was only one, which means 1 year. That therefore on your birthday, ensure that there are principles. This principle will help you. Help you if you are in a particular meeting. Stick to what was supposed to be in that and not allow things to be smuggled in your agenda. That was not in your agenda. I've known people who hear about news, hear this, and make it a point that when they come to any gathering where they belong and they're supposed to talk, raise issues that end up to be a rumor. So for us to be stronger, we need to have more focus. The background to the situation we're in South Africa insofar as food security is concerned, I hear my friend, Mr. Yellow Clothes, saying he's attending. He used to like that name, especially during Matiba's time. So, yellow man, how are you? So he was saying he's going to another meeting where they are discussing food security. Food security is discussed everywhere. And I wish the department would be more stronger to know its role, to stick to its mandate. Because I say this, there's a paper that I've left here. Yes, that I'm not going to read. It's for your compiling of what was taking place. It's a policy on food security. In 2013, you look at it, how it is very much not organized. I'm moving from a constructive criticism because why food security ended up in this mess, the mandate of the Department of Agriculture was actually given to social development. You can read it thoroughly, but you can see that even if the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development, or Rural Development as a standalone department by that time, they would do nothing because the power and the mandate has been misplaced. And indeed, because the coordination of food security, all the other very powerful elements are given to social development. And social development, I don't know, how would they get the capacity to produce this food? Because the starting point is, do you have capacity and skills to do that? And how they accepted with both arms that task has led us today. And the Department of Agriculture is now answering questions that don't belong to it. And we are prepared to walk along, but with this policy, DTG, that was never rescinded or was never actually reviewed or amended to close gaps. We still remain with it. It's in power because it's written the date it was approved for cabinet to approve, and cabinet approved. The other issue I want to raise, there is a tendency which I observe. When we are a co-op and someone comes with another co-op and another co-op, it ends up maybe we having a secondary co-op all of us. People stop actually engaging seriously on their co-op for the secondary co-op to grow. It's a common mistake. When there's a new, you are now elected to the new, and then your original is secondary to the new post you have, opposition, if I may say. We must ensure that the leadership is about to go to your cooperatives. I'm not saying big cooperatives. I'm not making a mistake. I've got my own reserves insofar as that is concerned. Because no one must come when I'm working in my 2 hectare and tell me that I can only be funded if I'm a co-op, and goes to a farmer with 5,000 hectares and don't ask him to be a co-op in order to be funded. So that one, we must not play. We must not, people must give us a service according to our need. I remember at some stage, we were dealing with issues of a service charter for the South Africans to say, how do you as government serve at, to have a charter which would be an agreement between government and the people of South Africa in terms of how would your service be to me. The other issue that I want to highlight, because you are now a better platform to influence. Yesterday, we went to meet the University of Pretoria at the Faculty of Veterinary Services. For me, it coincided with us having attended such a topic by the G20, which was in Oman, in Indonesia. The topic there is very important for beef lovers and those who engage in beef. It was about my antimicrobial resistance because of reasons that were placed there, which were very much common to my own country and to my department, and affecting farmers very seriously. When we met together with the Deputy President and we were in China dealing with the Binational Commission, the issues of our animals having more hormones than expected and that, yes, I think Ambassador who is here in South Africa today with the Minister of Agriculture, and I'll tell you later why, they were meeting the portfolio committee, which I did not attend, but I could have attended to come here later. But let's leave it, because that was permission. But I think even if I had attended, but they are here because it's the partnership I'm going to talk about. You are now a platform to engage. I know I'm very late, because as we were coming back after 3 weeks in that visit, we knew that your other farmers group had already made indications of how they are going to access what you still have to hear about. Yes, but then that issue is a big issue, and I am sure CEO for our research capacity, yes, you are here. I responded in both instances, even when we were in Hanai, in the Africa, in the FOCAC. I raised the issue that you could have been there, So DDG, I think we are not, I'm not wiser than anybody, but I can make an observation and a recommendation. We are not organized in dealing with international issues. We are not, and we are not spot on understanding whether it's geopolitical, whether we reached a stage of South or BRICS and all those. We have not been, I think we must together make it a point that we have a platform where we deal with this important issue. The important issue is that decisions are taken. The DP was allocated by the president to be in charge of the bi-national commission between us and China. And he has put this as a very important requirement for him to achieve his own mandate, that there must be reports, whether bi-monthly or quarterly, but to say if we are to export beef, what steps have we taken now to actually mobilize, so that we are not found wanting at some stage when we are out of stock. And yet it was a commission binding agreement. So I know that is an opportunity for the few, that beef, which means ndiyanicela kubakho lento yokuba mna ndibe nale entity leni yiyo ngoku, ndibe namandla akum and don't use it, ndingenzi kwanto, and niyobila nibe manzi trying to remove me. The agenda will change is to remove this chair or remove this secretary, whoever must be removed. Sometimes I heard a song, it was saying, kwabazokhishwa, abakhishwe phela. So it's encouraging that those were identified to be removed. Let's do it now. But to say, we must, irrespective of organization, we must move in unison. Because what you have, there's something very important which you don't have, which is with someone else, and that someone does not have what you have. I don't understand, and I don't know how many tractors have we bought as this country since the inception of our democracy. But you can go somewhere, there's not a single tractor to actually employ. Akukho lema uyiqeshe. I don't know what the cure is, but I know the cure I had when I was an executive mayor and there was power there. I had executive authority. And what I wanted happened. Do you know we bought farms? 3,000 hectares. Now Swartbeck. I requested this gentleman is Sakra, because there was Sakra there. But I think we needed also to include beef, because as OR Tambo, we were actually trading in beef. And when we go to an auction, we get 1 million, we would take all ours and say, it's enough for today. We'll see you in the next auction. And our municipality was never poor. But to date, I'm told it is part of that 3%. And poverty and hunger and starvation is worse in our town, which was leading in economic development, owning farms, tractors and everything. But they are no longer now today. Even those general dealer shops we bought, they have now been looted. The one in Magushe in Fort Donald, the one in Fundisweni, Yagwa Stewart. All those were functional, but we wanted locals to own, locals to have a space to go and actually try to put their ideas with something at hand. But now I'm going back to you to say, I believe when you are Sagra, ensure that uhamba nabantu ngobunjalo babo. Don't be somewhere in Lusikisiki and not in Port St. John's. Somewhere in Mshonto and not there. Because I remember when I was still a mayor, we engaged in what was called 25-75. We were paying 75% cost of what the farmer will actually put in their own bank. They had to put in their own bank, but I remember Ntinga people who were implementing agents saying to me, did you know that Mbizana has paid 15 million by now from their own pockets? And they were paying every month. But the way they wanted to produce, they were crying for their land that is lying fallow. Those who received in the bank, they say, these old ladies, when you say, no, we have paid enough now, your what is due from you is 25%. She would say, is there anyone who has not paid in my area? Put that money in her place, because this district municipality, this Ntinga will say they start with those who have finished. So I don't want to be actually drawn by the one who has not finished. We will pay up until we are paid up. But they really were benefiting out of that. But it was escalated to the province. It became very costly, not affordable. We are back to square one. I am requesting that if we are to deal with the China agreement, let me say it's not an agreement with South Africa. The president of this country, if he will follow our activities, held a meeting with African leaders, and agreed upon a partnership with China. Then China had to work its own with the presidents of other countries. This culminated into South to South, which is BRICS. Now BRICS is a big thing. When we were there, the actual mandate of the DP was to meet the new bank, the new developmental bank, which is the one of BRICS. We met the lady president there. It was not meant for anyone else, but for African. Then we also went to the Bank of China, and then we went into a hall as big as this one, full of Chinese business. We established there, through the BNC, a chamber of commerce, a chamber, but in a chamber which is in Beijing. This chamber in Beijing is to support business people of our country operating in that space, so that they like things like your CIC, the one that is a world exhibition, says, so that you are actually supported when you go there. Your stand there is actually attended to, because someone is talking about it, someone is promoting it. So in that meeting, we raised issues that relate to you in this house. today. One, that do they as Chinese, because they are not, in their land is not sold to foreigners. That's very clear. But they themselves are not allowed to do the negative. That is buying land in Africa. The President Wapa is very clear that they depend in Africa for them to eat. They have money and many money, but they don't have food or land to produce. They are then saying to their South African colleagues, please sell us food and then we'll give you the money. And then President Jinping was saying, all is what is needed in life is food on the table, but money in the pocket. So you cannot want to produce food and not expect money in your pocket. So the negotiations that we were with our negotiator, trade and industry, all the things that you were mentioning here as being produced are approved. Even the macadamia nuts. There will be others for next year, which is 2024. Those are approved, especially the area that the gentleman who spoke on a chamber and reminded me of the one that we established. They are all approved. We have since agreed now that with negotiations for what must be approved, it must be a package. That's what we proposed in the Bi-National Commission. That if it's about fruit, let's have a group. If it's about meat, let's have it in a package, rather than going for sunflower, then next year for soya, because it takes almost a year to get it approved through all the processes. One other thing that was binding, that we agreed to be, really agreeing to be in that binding, is that all the complaints that relate to the condition of our produce and product, we must have a partnership. This was also agreed upon in Ethiopia, that because we are now talking about the trade, Africa trade space for Africans, we are saying, let everyone be involved in assessing and ensuring that the product is well approved in terms of its quality. Ungayijiki seyingena ngecontainer uthi ama-orange anamachokoza so abolele phaya. So the issue is, masivumelana amachokoza ayinto engafunekiyo, uba akhona singawasi kwawasa swenza ijuice siwathenge thina. So there were those very important matters. But I think the last support to your greatest historic event, as I measure it, is that, do we all understand the role of local government? Because it seems we can either be national and provincial as organizations like this one today. I don't understand, because in my understanding, having been there in that space for 10 years at least, years being an executive authority, I knew exactly that the local municipality is wall to wall. The district municipality is wall to wall. But there's no attempt to involve them. And I think we need to do something about that. Akukho abantu abahlala apha eNational. Kuzofika iChristmas nangoku siyagoduka. Siyakweza ndawo singazihoyanga. Akukho apho abantu bahlala only locally. And it is the local, maybe abantu baba bengayithandi lento ka local government because inamandla ewasusayo kwabanye abantu. Babengayifuni kakhulu. Those of us who survived, yilento basaphula sihambe eDep selusa inkomo. Otherwise abanye bakhutshwa, zange ndikhutshwa 10 years. Kwaphela 10 yokuba ngumeya. So what I'm arguing here is the first pala. But kwamasipala ukhona 2 structures that are legitimate the traditional authority. If you look into the powers of the traditional authority, you would never doubt that this is an authority and has got power in it. Yayazi ke la power ningayiyeka ithathwe ngabanye abantu. Uba ke njobe ihleli yodwa nje. Uba lapha ukhe yathathu uve kuthiwa obani badlula ngomuntu omnye. That's the greatest power. The day you lose that power, koba ngathi uluza iWestern Cape. Hayi thina sasine partnership CEO Wardam no noma India. Yes, youth exchange. We were funded for that. It was flying. However, yaphelela pha eWestern Cape the day kwathiwa ulindiwe uphumile. Wathi nje wamama kwakuthiwa nguzile by then. Uzile we Mother City. Kodwa hayi nabudlelwane nani mna. Ndisithi into endiyo yaphelela kuye lo mali nathi senqina ukumangalela kuba wayezomane efaka neouter nentoni side sohlulakala. Don't try to fight apho ungenamandla khona. Don't believe into enongazuyilawula noba icourt noba intoni. I advise strengthen your fight where you think you have capacity to do that. It's a strategic approach in pushing a struggle, but in that demonstrate your honesty. Demonstrate your ability not to be corrupt. Don't violate any law. Force that laws be changed. Place everyone in front of you and say, we do not agree with this one. Ukumarch, I know how much we must. And abantu babethu bethi, hey, but abantu abethu bazi, babile babe manzi, bemenda enenye baye ePitoli. Kodwa bamenda wenenye. We've gone through that. So ndiyikhuthazi leyo ukuba nihlonipheke ninje ningake nimatshe pha kube luthuli. Andinamfanekiso bengabheka abo bantu bakaMadlala bazomatsha bazoba bephi bethu ngoba naye ndadlula kuye nje matsha pha ndangamnaki nokumnaka ndabuza ba ngulo simele basithetha naye lo kodwa nguye kanye ndathi ndambuka nje lapha ugu. But okubaleke kakhulu le unit eniqalileyo yiyo eyayimele ba iya precede uzo zonke iunit because akuvunyelwana ngento ezokhupha amandla kwabanye abantu. Uba amandla ethu njengorhulumente siwanika nina njengoba iconstitution yezwe. I always ask where is the popular public participation? What happened to the popular public participation that abantu abavumi abantu bayavuma? The last one nibambile leyo basizo export. Nibambe ngoba i-export kufuneka ibe in abundance. Ukhona kumuntu obecela apha kwabanye abantu engaceli kum. Ndilapha mna. Esithi mna ndova ngabo bantwana bebekhona emeetingini uba yabona ke silos is our plan now. because we have agreed by China ukuba ezi zinto mazibe kwi-silos. A silo at a production level by a traditional authority. Because bona they are using villages. Everything is done in a village, but is actually stored properly. So uba ngaba sifuna le soya bekuthethwa ngayo apha, uzawuyifuna le soya kuzo zonke ii-villages uqale esajonisi uhambe uyoma ngo-Ugu or ngeHarigwala district. Then you must allocate silos of today, where you are going to have now trucks to collect and put into containers. You can go to izibuko lase Dep, you can go to izibuko lase Kucha, depending on where your production and storages are. It applies to meat. We must have, we once said when one of South African people from, is it Northern Cape, if not Northwest, he had actually got a contract, which was, it might happen that he's here, but please forgive me for making that example. He had a contract on the matching, a farmer to farmer, farmer to business. He got a contract of 100 bonsmara carcasses a week times 5 years. And he was like mad. Here was the food in front of him, but too much for his stomach. He was already full, dying. But what will I do? We tried, because we didn't talk to the department. We were small business. And then we tried the jobs fund at about 30 employees. We tried a new fresh aperture, but he could not sustain because we were not networked who all those who are producers, like the Department of Agriculture or our ARC. But I'm saying to date, ARC, you know which lands you were using in the Eastern Cape. And those programs were abandoned. But the time for asking is too late. Lo mhlaba lo fanele uba uyadliswa, which is a park known as Pondo Park, from Port St. John's to Xolobeni, and therefore to Ugu district and Harigwala, because that's the coastal, what you know as wild coast. Those people who are sitting on this land were saying to me, and I was fresh from China, those are the first people I met. And I asked, why can't we graze? And then he said, no, this land is preserved. It's important. It's land that must be preserved, and is grazing destructive? He said, yes, if it is, that it remove if it is overgrazed. Who said we are going to overgraze? Because we will be winning from all these other villages, winning the 5-month-old, put there at 18 months, you actually disperse. So they were saying, no, that's not a big issue. And we have got so much money that we can utilize for fencing. And I'm asking why. No, the people are violent because they say we took their land. Yes, you did. Because if you were telling them that because this land is preserved, come and graze and don't actually plant and use big tractors and so on. It's preserved if it's grazing because you alternate pastures under normal circumstances and you maintain them, you manage them. They said, no, I'm open for a meeting. So I think we need to check all along, because what we did not do well was to look after our pastures. Ayike kukutya ke le ye farms. Farms is a food for government to actually support the people. Because sebede balwe nge-CPA nje. Utata uNkwinti wayezama nozama dabanike so much purposing in the one farm, and at the end of the day there was no production. Because ndikunika imali yakho, ndikunika imali yakho, ndikunika imali yakho. Yabona ke tata uMadlala, ndifuna ii-tractors zihambe ilima. I-tractor yonkomo yakho uyithanda uyibeke phambi kwakho. Uvuka uyibone imile, ulala uyibone imile. I-tractor drivers zifuna zibe mbini. 2 tractor drivers, enye ilele, enye iyalima. Enye ilele, enye iyalima. And secondly, lento inento eyenza i-mechanization is the one that is killer number 1. Because if i-inputs sezikhona, ndithetha nangoku Eastern Cape kuthethwa ngayo izwe lonke uba indlela elamba ngayo kufa abantu. I belong there, I can talk about that. But what I know, akukabikho khuba lingene phansi komhlaba as we speak. And imischief ekhona kwaba bantu bethu akabathandi abanye utata uMadlala kodwa ndimnqineli. Ndithi kodwa uthe akabathandi. Uyayazi into abayenzayo? Vele bakuphi tractor, ulale ubiza abantu uthi uphiwe le tractor. Xa sisiya thina, tractor ayinayo nenye implement. Pha bayibeke khona ebalimini. Bayibeke pha, akho implements, akho ntoni. Uthi hayibo ndifuna ihambe le tractor, ndilapha ngoku. Bekuthiwa manizocelebrate, ndifuna ihambe. Hayi sizoyoboleka somewhere. Xa kuyoboleka somewhere sekwabolekiswa ngeziya. This thing, free gift, ingena attachment, ingena conditions that will come and inspect our implement. I-tractor ngamhlala 90 years. But nam ndandimke ngoko ndandike ndangu-MEC, ndandike ndamandelwa, ndathenga 120 tractors, andikwazi nokuboniswa isikali. Kaloku xa uke waya kwenye indawo vele ucinga into uba kuculwa ifundwa le nto yakho. Bavele baxoke waya kwenye indawo bacinga uba hayi sekuzovele kuthiwa hayi ke bakalale ngoxolo uqabane. Kanti uzovele ubuye ngenye indlela. Ndifuna ii-tractors nam zam ngoku I'm a ghost. I'm saying masifuneni plani, siyicele i-department uba nomba we-mechanization kangangokuba ke pha bendikhona eChina andifuni ngabantu bacinga uba ndiyayithanda le nto yaseChina, ndiyayi-understanda more than uyithanda. And I think it talks to my troubles as an ANC cadre. And in particular, inzima le nto sikuyo ungakwazi ukusebenzisa umhlaba ngenxa bona ke bane-Bank of China. Uba sizicholele i-China nyana nje, la inenkampani nathi, bona lokhu banikwa baye enkampanini eyakha ii-tractors. Bathathe yonke ikit abayifunayo. Thina uzoya kulo awenze le nto awuthengiseli ezinye izinto. Uthi ngale mini ndizifumene ndizibolekile nazi, nabo driver ndiba-fundraisile. Hayi kuthiwe amavila kanamanzi. Yet this thing, you don't know how much it can frustrate you. You can stand up in China and say, people start to know what happened to this South African woman. They don't know that the problem is at home. Ayikho apha eChina. Abantu bayafona asikaboni kwanto. Hey, but nalento ke katata uMadlala le yembewu. Hayi imbewu yona makwenziwe iplan ezoba semthethweni. I don't think there's been a stage apho nike nahlala nina nenza ibudget. Ngokwenu. Have you guys ever been able to sit in a meeting like this and prepare your own budget for a sitting a minister of finance? Because kudala ayenziwa nazicawe. Yes, churches would sit and have their own budget and give it to the president. I remember very well. Unions, despite the fact that they have someone, a rep of unions, sitting in parliament on behalf of unions to listen and actually to raise its leadership on issues that they need to lift and deal with. NGOs were doing the same. Nalena ihlupayo kuthiwa indala yabakhona isekhona namhlanje i-black sash, but it doesn't work for blacks at all. Not at all. It works totally against them. But yayihlala ke isa le budget. And ine NGOs ezenza ubungakwazi ukuyichola i-Western Cape. Western Cape singayithatha thina because isibhodi eyi-1. Yes, I talk about ngabangayithiwe ungene ezindala. Inkabe eziqhele ijokhwe. Ungabona into engapha. But ke dive nabantwana bami besithi bave ngendaba which is not true. Uba uSteenhuisen wasebenzisa iWestern Cape njenge collateral. Waboleka imali eNgilani ndathi no. Leni ngathi iphekwe pha esikolweni. I suspect i-authenticity yayo bathi nyani makhulu ubolekise ngemali nge-Western Cape as a whole. Uba niyamyeka wini siluza lanto because sehleli i-collateral pha kuSteenhuisen. To end the long story, I'm more excited having met you when I had good news. And I think the good news about, nobody must talk about market. Even if you have got 5 kg, you will add it to the other kgs of soya, sugar beans, the sugar beet khona. Nazo zonke ke ezo zivunyiweyo zi-approviwe singathumela, but mna DDG I declined to commit and sell something I don't have. How would I sell sunflower when I know of no silo full of self? How would I say how many tons? Sukumana apha nihambe niye emasimini enu niye nakwabanye abantu. Ndiyacela DG le muntu itractor mayingabi namda. Angeke uduthu netractor pha bendithe aba bantu kuthiwa go Sakra noba ngobani gcwele ifarms sazithenga thina pha. Zikhona kulapho ungakwazi ukwenza khona itraining. Ngoba amaTshayina into ayifunayo afuna itraining. Afuna kuthiwe yanipani otrainer. Nitrain abantu abazokwakha ogandaganda ningaphinde nibafune. But there was a lot that was said. I'll ask i-office le kahulumente ibize meeting. Apho sizawukwazi ukutablisha a full report and the expectations of our president and as mandated to UDP, how we are going to perform. But the performance is how much did we export to China? How much was used by China to buy that? And as a result, how did it contribute to the GDP of our country? That's what we stand for. Ndiyanibulela ngokundimamela sekulate, you reminding me of a man when one was saying, oh ndiyabulela undimamele ndishumayela. What hayi ndilinda ukuvala. I'm not listening. So ningadeni linda ukuvala ke bantu abakuyo.